So the Torah tells us, Emor o Kohanim b'nei Aaron, tell the Kohanim, the children of Aaron, le'nefesh lo yitam ba'amav. So this is from, in Parashat Emor we have the famous portion of the Isser of the Nishma-s Kohanim, the Isser, the prohibition of Kohanim to come in contact with the dead. And the Torah goes through the different relatives, the 7 relatives, the special exceptions. Perhaps we'll see Meis Mitzvah, and for your own relatives. So the Torah tells us B'nei Aaron, and Chazal tell us, Rashi quotes the famous Medrash, B'nei Aaron lo benos Aaron. It applies to the men and not the women. So the daughter of a Kohen, the wife of a Kohen.
Sure. Can I ask you a question?
You sure can.
On Pesach Sheni, do you put on tefillin?
Absolutely, everything's the same.
The same. So you don't say anything special.
Right. In fact, just leave out tachanan. That's everything. The only thing different, some people eat matzah. That's how they recognize it. But,
I see. Okay.
But it's a regular day in terms of that.
Thank you so
Sure.
much.
So it says, B'nei Aaron v'lo benos Aaron. So it applies to the male and not the daughter or the wives of a Kohen. There's a famous shaila in the Tshuvas regarding an Ashes Kohen, Mu'uberes, a pregnant wife of a Kohen. Can she go to a cemetery? Can she come in contact with the dead? Why not? We just said B'nei Aaron v'lo benos Aaron. So this question is, maybe she has a male inside. Maybe she's pregnant with a male Kohen, and perhaps she's prohibited to go in. That's the first one to discuss it is the Rokeach, or he's the one always quoted. The Rokeach writes, it is permitted for the pregnant wife of a Kohen to go. What about the Isser of Tumas Kohanim, the Isser Daraisa? So the Rokeach gives his famous answer of a Svek Sveika. It's a double doubt. Because we know Savik Daraisa L'chumra, Savik Drabanan L'kula, and Svek Sveika, even on a Daraisa, is mutter. So he says one Savik is maybe it's a male, maybe it's a female. And even if it is a male, who knows, maybe it will be a neifa. Who knows if the child will make it to fruition. So therefore, based on the principle of Svek Sveika, the Rokeach says that one can, a wife of a Kohen can go to a cemetery, can come in contact. So there's a further discussion. So that's true that a wife of a Kohen can, but what about a sonogram? Number one is two parts to the question. Number one is she obligated to take a sonogram now that we have sonograms? So therefore maybe she has to take one. And secondly, if she took a sonogram and found that it was a male, would that change the equation? So regarding whether she's chayav to take a sonogram, we'll forget about that question for a second, but the question, basically what the question really is, are you chayav to mavara a svek sveika? Anyway, could you rely on a svek sveika lechatchila, or only b'di'evid? So therefore it seems to be a machokas the Ramah and the Shach. The Ramah writes, he's talking about not chicken wings, but wings of it. Over there he's discussing about broken wings over there, but the Ramah seems to say svek sveika is muti even lechatchila, and the Shach seems to say no, if you can mavara the suffix, you go ahead. To some point out, I think the Yehuda, even the Shach would be more in this case, because when does he say you can be mavar? Only if you can mavar both sveikas. But you only can mavar one of the two. So here you only can mavar if it's going to be a male or a female. I assume maybe at some point you can, but you can't be mavar if it's going to be a nefal, at least at that point. And therefore, the Yehuda would say, even according to the Shach, you wouldn't have to, because taking the sonogram wouldn't help us, because you'd still be left with. So therefore, it would seem that one would not be obligated. The question, could you charge ohep for for tumas kohanim. So, but either way, so that's the rokeach sveka. So ben, according to the Ramah or the Shach, that she wouldn't have to take the sonogram because you only can mavara one of the svekas. That's the way the rokeach says, based on sveka. Comes along the Chasam Sofer and says, what are you talking about? Sveka. We know the famous Tosas and Ksubis and the Shari Yosher. We go into the Koli Svekas. One in the column of Svekas has to be a suffix hashakol. Like, it can't be a 1% suffix. That's everything. So male or female, it's relatively equal, even though people say there are more women today than men. But the suffix nefel, at least not today, like it's, what kind of, so therefore he says you can't say sveka. Obviously the rokeach says sveka, but the Chazim Sofer reinterprets what the rokeach means. It doesn't mean sveka, he means mitam rov. What do you mean mitam rov? That basically it's a 50-50 male or female, and then there's some nefelim, so therefore it's less than a 50% chance that it'll be a male, and therefore that's what the rokeach means. That's why he agrees. That's what the rokeach says. The wife of a kohen can go to a cemetery, but it's not mitam sveka. It's mitam rov. I my nafkamina. Whether it's mitam rov, mitam sveka, either way she's going to the cemetery. Major nafkamina, Rabbi Black pointed out, and the Chazon Sofer, if it's working midin sveka, so we pointed out that's a whole discussion, but sveka could be working b'torah's vadai. Like the mashal I gave with I gave the mashal with suffix deraisu chumrah, with the treif meat. But let's say you go into a store and there's a sale on meat, and you look at the packaging, it says it's a sveka, the meat, whether it's kosher or not. So, and let's assume the halacha says it's okay. So therefore, is it b'torah's vadai or b'torah's suffix? Is it b'torah's vadai, I'm saying, or no, it's just the odds are you have a double suffix, it makes it 66%. So, if you hold some sveka anyway, we'll assume it's b'torah's vadai, so you don't have to do birur, you don't have to check it out. But if it's rov, the halacha is yechoshesh l'miyuta. You have to, like if it's more than a 10% chance of the miyad hamatzah, you have a chiyuv b'dikra, like it is, let's say, by bugs. Like minat Torah, if you have over 50% non-bugs, if you have over a 50% chance to have bugs, you have a chiyuv daraisa to check. Less than 50% is no chiyuv daraisa, but if it's above 10%, that's the number we're using, then it's a miyad hamatzah. If it's less than 10%, you don't have to check. That's the whole issue with bodeg lettuce or the other lettuce that comes with the hashkacha. It definitely has bugs in there. But the question is, do you have to do a chiyuv b'dikra because they got it down to less than 10%? That's a separate discussion. But either way, there's a major nafkamina. According to the rokeach, the simple reading of the rokeach, you wouldn't have to take we said it's b'torah's vadai, and you wouldn't have to take a sonogram. If you hold it mitam rov, so then the woman would have to take a sonogram then, because you can be a mavara. So if you work, that's a major nafkamina mitam sveka or mitam rov. So that's one famous heter is sveka, or if you say mitam rov, it's still a heter, but then the question whether you have to take a sonogram if you can. Another sad to be makel is as follows. There's a famous Magen Avram, I think he quotes the Radbaz. The Radbaz says we have a totally different reason. We don't have to worry about our Ashes Kohen Muberes going to a cemetery. Why? Because we have to talk, not that, we got to talk about the plastic guy. That's an old thing, it's not just the other people have been doing it. And also, the reason why he made the news is people thought it was about sex, not like sex separation. They thought that was a big topic, that imagine in this day and age, 21st century, people want men and women to sit separately. Then it was a big topic in the London and Daily News until they found there was a Tumas Kohanim issue. They didn't care anymore. But that's an old shiloh, whether, number one, to try whether the plastic worked, but that's been going on for years. But one person just took the picture and it went viral, so we'll have to discuss it. So, but not now. So they point out that there's a concept of Tuma Ba'ula, Tahara Ba'ula, that if there's something the last I checked, the fetus is encased inside the womb. So we have halacha, something which is balua, so therefore it doesn't come out. In other words, it's chotzet. It blocks it off, and therefore you don't become tameh. So therefore that's what the Magen Avraham and the Rabbi say, and therefore it's not a problem. The wife, to the shayla, so what do you need the svek of the rokeach for? What is the rokeach talking about? Why did he just say tuma bua? So the answer, no, einachinami. Of tuma bua, that's fine. But the rokeach is talking about, let's say it's in the 9th month, and you're getting close to term, you're getting close to giving birth, then you're still out of go out the svek sveka. Let's say you gave birth in the cemetery, it was a svek sveka, or you'd be able to go. That's what he means. But he holds tuma bu. Others say no. The Avnei Miluim says no. Tuma bu doesn't work here. What's the case? The case is that the Gemara talks about that someone put like a tummy ring. I think the case is they put like a tummy ring in their stomach. So the halach is, so it's not metame, because it's blocked up. So the Avnei Miluim says that works by a ring, by a foreign object. But by a fetus isn't a foreign object. The fetus is part of mommy, gets into uba yerach imo, it's not a chatzitz. In fact, it's the Gemara. The Gemara talks about a pregnant Gentile who converts. So what the Gemara says in Yevamah is b'na ein sarach tefillah. The child doesn't need tefillah. Why not? Because hani ravise. Isn't a chatzitza? No, it's all one. So we see. So therefore, the Avnei Miluim says the tuma bua wouldn't help by a fetus because he's saying it's hani ravise. It's connected. But that's the second possibility. A third possibility is the Mishnah in Yevamah is about. There's a whole discussion on when does life begin, conception, birth, but the shayla is when does the father-child relationship begin? In other words, let's say you're an Ashes Kohen. At what point does he get the status of a Kohen? So that's based on a Gemara in Yevamah. It's a Mishnah, Uber Zarhu. And then Gemara talks about the Tosefta and Para where they used to take the woman before she was going to give birth. They put her in a separate place so the child could be tar. They weren't worried about when she was pregnant. They only worried about it when she was giving birth. So they want to point out it's no problem. Of course, an Ashes Kohen Muberes could go. He's not a Kohen until the birth, and therefore, those are the three famous heterim. Is number one, svek sveka of the rokeach, or mitam rov according to the Chassam Sofer's the version of the rokeach nafkamina if you have to take a sonogram or not. Secondly, the tuma belua, whether we say since the fetus is encased, so therefore it's not a problem, or we say he's not a Kohen yet. So there are many poskim who are meko, but Rav Shechter doesn't like any of the kulas. He feels very strongly against, and because he has a whole general different understanding of the whole issue of Tumas Kohanim. It's not his own. Rav Chaim Ozer Gruzonsky, Rav Elchanan Wassim, all the Roshi Yeshiva go like him in terms of that. That he wants to say the Isser is like the Rambam. The Rambam writes so we know everyone's tamei today. That's the famous discussion about the Raiva. What the Raiva actually says that. Is it to be Mosif al Tumah? Everyone's tamei today. The Rambam writes, every time a Kohen comes in contact with another mace, calls him on you holding onto the mace, so then it's okay. But once you let go and you go touch another mace, so then you're over it. Every time you touch, every time you do Tumas Kohanim. So what's the Isser? I mean, he's already Tameh. So that's what Rav Shachta says. It's nothing, the Isser, it's not result oriented. There's a special Isser for a Kohen to Iskravis a mace, to come closer to a mace. And in fact, that's why he doesn't like this heter. He says the fact that a Kohen doesn't become Tameh doesn't mean it's Mutter. Let's say, even if you want to assume, like you assume the Eishes Kohen Muberes is not going to become Tameh, the child. But so even if that's right, there's still an Isser of bringing. That's why he doesn't like Rav Shlomo Goren's heter for Kohanim going to medical school, among other reasons, because he has a chiddush, Rav Goren, that basically there's halacha of charav hareu kacholo, that once you touch, the sword touches the dead body, has the din of a sword, and then we pass on that way. So he gives a case, but the Kohen's allowed to touch the sword. He gives a way where a Kohen's allowed to become tameh. So he says, when you have that ring touch the dead body, you wear the ring, so it's like he's constantly never left the mace, and therefore there's no isser. That's Rav Goren's heter. So Rav Shachta says he doesn't like it because the isser of his kavet yudaf, that's what you're doing. You're going, you're touching a cadabra or coming in contact. For the same reason he's machmer there, that's why he's more lenient for a Kohen on an airplane. Because even though Tumah might go to the Rakia, maybe the cloud stop, but here if the isser is kavet l'meis, you're going far away from the cemetery. You know, there are kuas and chumras, and Rav Shachta doesn't like the heterim of the tzvek sveka, because he says anytime you can never bring a Kohen into a cemetery. Forget about whether you're becoming tameh, and that's irrelevant to the discussion. So therefore he's machmer. So to summarize, we have a machlokas aposkim, we have the rokeach tzvek sveka with the chasam sofer bitam rov, then we have the second sheet of the avnei, then we have the Tumah Berua, and then we have he's not a Kohen yet, and then we have Rav Shachta's being Machmir.